in a way, Houston exceeded expectations in 2024. The Cougars really didn't have much talent. This team was depleted in year one under Willie Fritz. We knew it was going to be rough, but they still managed to go 4-8 with upset wins over TCU, Utah, and Kansas State, and had a near loss, 4 points on the road to Oklahoma? Now this team is a lot better, much more experienced, much more filled out. They've got a fantastic coach, and they could flirt with a bowl game in 2025. Take a look at Houston again last year. We didn't have many expectations. They actually found themselves, though, sitting at 4-5 after those wins against Utah and Kansas State. So they were in the mix for a bowl game entering the final quarter of the season, but they ended up losing their final 3 games to Arizona, Baylor, and BYU by about an average of 15 points per game. So, you could look at it from one perspective of maybe they exceeded expectation, at times played better than we thought, but I get one good word could be inconsistent for Houston in 2024. This year, I think that all changes. Take a look at the offense. That was the reason they struggled so much. It was horrendous. 14 points per game. That's all Houston averaged last year. 288 yards per game. That's it. 153 passing yards per game. That is it. They were shut out in back-to-back games against Cincinnati and Iowa State earlier in the year, and overall they were held to 14 points or less in 7 of the 12 games that they played. Absolutely unreal. Absolutely unreal, and that's not in a good way. But now they should be drastically more improved. Connor Wigman comes in at quarterback from Texas A&M. He was the starter for the Aggies last year, and then obviously got hurt, never really panned out. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be really good. I have a lot of faith in Wigman. I think he can be fantastic here at Houston. Not as much pressure either compared to Texas A&M and the SEC, but he's got to be able to stay healthy. Alongside him, Rashawn Sanford comes back at running back, had over 400 rushing yards last year. 2 of their top wide receivers from last year return, in Stephon Johnson and Mekhi Muse. They add Tanner Koziel from Ball State, 839 yards as a tight end last year, earned second-team MAC honors. I mean, that's a big pickup. So 2 of your top 3 receivers, a big transfer tight end, an experienced running back, an experienced quarterback if he can stay healthy, and the offensive line has 92 starts up front. Willie Fritz believes it's the most improved unit on the offense. They got 33 sacks last year, so they definitely need to improve. But overall, this offense should be drastically better than the one that only mustered 14 points per game in 2024. The defense, though, that was the bright spot. Like, if they had had just a little bit more of an offense, I think Houston goes bowling last year. I really do. Because the defense was ranked 12th in the nation. 4-8 team had a top 15 defense. They allowed just 22.9 points per game, only 325 yards per game, and that secondary gave up just 189 passing yards per game. So they were playing some really good defense against some really good Big 12 opponents. They actually held their opponents to 76 yards below their average. So typically, we're playing much better than people would expect and holding those electric offenses to well under their season average when it came to yardage. Now, 7 starters are back for Houston, and the defensive line looks to be pretty solid. Carlos Allen is back at nose tackle. They added Eddie Walls, who had 5 sacks last year from Florida International. Khalil Lafau comes in, 4 sacks last year at Washington State. Then you've got, in the linebacking core, Corey Platt returns. He was injured last year, but that's a big guy returning for Houston. At the jack position, you've got Brandon Mack, had 3 sacks last year. But the secondary, to me, has a chance to be really good. Maybe the strength of this defense. Now that they return Kentrell Webb, who was 4th on the team in tackles last year, bring back Latrell McCutcheon, a secondary that had 12 interceptions last year, as 2 of their best guys coming back, and they overall add 6 transfers into the secondary, 5 of which had starting experience at their previous program. So this is a Houston team that seems to be in much better shape. We know the job Willie Fritz can do, and I believe he's going to kind of work wonders, I think, in year 2. Take a look at the schedule for Houston. It's really not that bad. They avoid some of the top dogs. They'll have to play a few on the road at Baylor, on the road at Arizona State, got to play Texas Tech. So some tough games in there, sure, and no one's expecting this team to compete for a Big 12 title, but it could be a better year than you expect. So much so, I think Houston starts 3-0 because their toughest game in those first 3 weeks is Colorado. And this is a Colorado team that obviously loses Shedeur Sanders, loses Travis Hunter, loses overall their top 4 pass catchers, really doesn't have much of a run game. The defense looks to be strong, but will they be? Certainly improved a lot last year. So they should cruise past Stephen F. Austin. They should beat Rice, who they beat by 26 last year, and they should beat Colorado on a Friday night at home. All those things being said, what a start. Almost matched last year's win total after the first 3 weeks of the season. Coming out of the bye week, things certainly get tough, and I think the Cougars lose their next 3. I really do. On the road at Oregon State, Corvallis is not an easy place to play. It hasn't been for the last few years, and it's not going to be for a while. And now they've got Malik Murphy, a veteran quarterback, coming in. They've got Anthony Hankerson, who had over 1,000 rushing yards last year. You've got your top receiver coming back. You've got 6 starters back on defense, including 4 of their top 7 tacklers. The Beavers are by no means a world beater in 2025. They're not an elite team in 2025, but they do have some really good talent and should be a lot better than we saw last year in that first year of no conference for them. So at home, long road trip for Houston. Yes, they've got the week of rest. I think this game will be close. I actually think it'll be relatively low scoring because I have a lot of faith in Oregon State's defense. Clearly a lot of faith in Houston's defense. I think home field advantage ends up being the difference maker. Maybe slight better quarterback play. Malik Murphy, a starter at Duke last year, could be the difference maker here. The Beavers get the win. Houston is 3-1. And we said we had them losing to Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. I think the Texas Tech game is self-explanatory. This is an elite Red Raiders squad that could be in due for one of the best seasons they've had in a very long time. That's if all the transfers pan out. Number 1 transfer portal class, spent tons and tons of money on that class. If they can stay healthy, namely quarterback Baron Morton, the Red Raiders could be in for something special. Yes, they have to come on the road for this game. Yes, Houston's defense might slow down the electric offense a little bit, but I think Texas Tech has the better team on both sides of the ball, should be able to overcome this road trip. They're 3-2, and then I think they're going to lose to Oklahoma State. I really don't know what to expect out of Oklahoma State this year. There's so many unknowns for this program that went 3-9 last year, was one of the biggest surprises, not in a good way, in 2024. Now, so many unknown pieces, so many young pieces, but I'm going to pick this game with faith in Mike Gundy. I think the Cowboys defense can't be much worse than they were last year when they gave over 500 yards per game. They're going to improve, I think, quite a bit on that side of the ball. So if the defense improves, the Houston offense hasn't panned out that much, the Cowboys have home field advantage. You've got Mike Gundy. I'm going to trust him at home. I think the Cowboys get this win. It truly is a toss-up game to me because of so many unknowns, but I'm going to side with them there, especially with Houston coming off back-to-back losses and maybe a tough one against Texas Tech. So 3-3 after a 3-0 start for Houston. You're halfway through the season. 6 games down, 6 to go. Got to win half the next ones if they want to go bowling. That streak begins with a win over Arizona at home. A win over Arizona at home. If you're looking for a team that could disappoint again, it's going to be Arizona. And I know Houston got destroyed last year. That was 27-3 to the Wildcats. But again, this is a different Houston team than last year. This is a different Arizona team than last year, and they weren't even all that good. Their pretty much entire offense was Teteroa McMillan, their star wide receiver. Just throw it up there and he'll catch it. He's gone now. Fafita is back, sure, but he threw 12 picks last year, 18-12. They only averaged 107 rushing yards per game. 9 starters are back on defense for the Wildcats, but they gave up 174 rushing yards per game. At home, iffy defense, questions on offense outside of their quarterback. I like Houston to get this job done. They need the win badly. They're going to get it. 4-3 for the Cougars, and they have matched last year's win total with 5 games left to play, and that is massive. After Arizona, they go on the road to Arizona State. I think that's a self-explanatory loss as well. They lose that game. Yes, the Sun Devils lose Cam Scadaboo. Everybody's going to focus on that, but they're not focusing on the return of Sam Levitt or their top wide receiver or the 9 guys that are back on defense. This Arizona State team is a Big 12 title contender and a playoff contender once again. Just don't think the Cougars have enough on either side to keep up, especially on the road. 4-4. So we're kind of alternating here. Coming back home, fairly easy game. West Virginia at home. A West Virginia team that should struggle mightily in the return of Rich Rodriguez. They have questions up front on the offensive line, major questions, I should say. Quarterback play is not going to really be that great. Defense, probably not going to be that great. People that think Rich Rodriguez is going to come in and work wonders in year 1 are wrong. It's not going to happen. Houston has, to me, right now, the better offense. You could argue the better defense. They've got home field advantage. 2 great coaches, I think, in Rodriguez and Willie Fritz. Should be a fun game to watch, but Houston's going to win this game and defend their home field. So they are now 5-4, 1 win away from getting to a bowl game. Can they get it? Won't come against UCF. It won't come against UCF. They've got to go to the bounce house on a short week after a big win over West Virginia. These 2 teams, of course, were AAC rivals, American Conference rivals from 2012 to 2022. Kind of cool to see them now in the same conference again in the Big 12, as we've known. The return of Scott Frost will be interesting. I think UCF and West Virginia are actually fairly similar in the sense that people are going to expect the return of these head coaches to be very successful in year one, and that's just simply not going to be the case. Promise will be there, the improvements will be there, but not enough to truly contend in the first year. UCF, though, I do think it's the job done at the bounce house. I think they have a little bit more talent, a lot of new players, but if they can quickly gel, could end up panning out better than expected for Scott Frost. So again, a short week, long road trip, not a tough environment, especially if UCF is flirting with a bowl game themselves. Just don't think Houston can pull off this win on the road. They're 5-5, meaning they have to win at least one of their final games against TCU or Baylor to go to a bowl game. Even if they lose both, they are 5-7, which is improvement from last year, but does feel like a disappointment. Coming out of the bye, they take on TCU, who they beat 30-19 last year. They were like 16-point underdogs. Beat them on the road, mind you. Held the Horned Frogs to just 299 yards of offense. And I think the defense has another big game in store again. I'm going to pick them to beat TCU. And that might be a hot take. A lot of people, how can you have them losing to, UCF or Oregon State, but beating TCU, who actually I'm fairly high on? I say yes. That's how much faith I have in Willie Fritz. More specifically, that's how much faith I have in this defense. Look, this secondary for Houston's really, really good. TCU's got a really good passing offense. That's going to be the battle here. But off a week of rest, at home on senior day, knowing that they probably need to win this one because on the road at Baylor is going to be tough to clinch bowl eligibility with, I think Willie Fritz has his team ready to go. I think the secondary is ready to go. And if they can shut down Josh Hoover in this passing attack and make TCU one-dimensional just running the ball, I think that plays perfectly into Houston's hands. TCU going to have a solid defense as well, but if Connor Wigman can stay healthy, I think this offense will get better with each passing week. Should be enough to find a way to eke out a win over the Horned Frogs. No revenge game for them. I don't think they get it. The secondary comes up big. Houston clinches bowl eligibility in year 2 under Willie Fritz. A big win over TCU for the second year in a row. On the road at Baylor, they will fall to the Bears. Not an easy place to play. Not an easy team to play. Baylor are going to be very good in 2025. A lot of experience coming back. They lost to the Bears 20-10 last year. They now return one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 in Sawyer Robertson. They have 8 starters back on defense. Baylor could be in the hunt for a Big 12 title appearance, playoff berth. Who knows? I mean, this is a team that has those expectations, and I just don't see them slipping up on their senior day at home. But Houston at that point has already clinched their ultimate goal, and that was massive improvement in getting to the postseason. They do just that. 6-6 for the Cougars in year 2 under Willie Fritz. We knew he was a dang good coach, but this fast of a turnaround maybe wasn't expected. But with the key transfers they're bringing in, namely on offense, with a very strong secondary, and honestly a manageable schedule facing some of the weaker teams in the Big 12 and not a very difficult non-conference, I believe this can be the year that Houston kind of breaks through. As long as they improve on offense, which they will, they'll be much more competitive than they were last year, will flirt with a bowl game, and I do believe they will get there. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not miss out on those. The season's going to be here before you know it. The quicker you sign up, the better it'll be for you. Same for our weekly newsletters, also over on thegridironexpert.com. Go check it out. The link's down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.